And welcome back to the OSI Spring Game Preview Special. We're joined now by Sam McKewon from the Omaha World-Herald, who covers the Huskers on a daily basis. Sam, what have you seen from the Huskers so far this spring?
Well, we haven't seen a lot because we haven't seen practice. But what we have heard from the coaches is that, I think there's a lot of buy-in. What we've heard from the players and the coaches is there's a lot of buy-in here. There's a sense of enthusiasm and momentum. They have to learn how to practice with pace. They have to learn the mentality that they want on defense, which is ultra aggressive, which is the direct opposite of what they wanted last year. So there's a lot of things that they're still working on in terms of culture and mindset. But generally, I think the coaches are pretty happy. And I also think they feel like the talent here is pretty good, that they did not inherit an empty cupboard.
And the position everybody wants to know about is quarterback. Yep. What do you make of the quarterback race so far during spring practice?
Well, that's the biggest question mark of all. I mean, I think that particular position is unsettled. You have Tristan Gebbia, Adrian Martinez, and I think Andrew Bunch right now is what you call your emergency quarterback. Noah Vedral is a guy that's probably not going to be eligible this year because of NCAA transfer rules. And then there's that looming question in the offseason of, do you go and get a transfer quarterback? Do you go get a guy like Joe Burrow? Do you go get a guy like Jalen Hurts, whose dad says he's going to transfer from Alabama, and I think Jalen might also be eligible? Do you go get somebody who can come in and play right away? Or do you ride a redshirt freshman like Gebbia or a true freshman like Adrian Martinez and say, we're going to play for year two because it's inevitable that a freshman quarterback's going to have their lumps? That's a big, big question, and we don't even have a full answer yet. Even after the spring game, we won't know because they have to make a decision on whether they want to bring another guy in here now that Patrick O'Brien's left.
Do you think the coaches are a little surprised no one's really separated themselves, or not really, considering they haven't played in a spring game, they haven't played in a game?
No, I'm not surprised. I mean, I think overall, they knew it was going to take an entire spring for these guys to kind of get together and to figure it out. They're not running live, so Adrian Martinez is not able to show his running ability, right? I mean, that's something that's not in the mix right now. And so it's hard to get a great gauge. They'll probably have to make them live at some point in the fall so they can get a real good sense of who the better runner is. But overall, I think they're not surprised that this thing is where it's at. I mean, it's pretty standard right now.
And Sam, moving to that spot alongside the quarterback in the backfield, some returners from last year like Mikhail Wilbon, Devine Zigbo, Trey Bryant, depending on his health with that knee, but also some newcomers with faces like Greg Bell making an impact. Who do you expect when all is said and done to lead the race coming out of the I-back spot?
Bell. I think that's the guy they like. If you talk to some of the defensive players, they say Bell's got a sort of a slippery running style and that he's got a certain speed to him. He's a very upright runner, so he kind of accumulates speed and keeps going. Zigbo and Wilbon, that's not to say that they haven't done a good job, but I think Bell is probably the truest dive back / bell cow. In Frost's offense, the Oregon offense, what he's going to run here, they have a secondary back, kind of what's called a duck, sort of a speed back, a pitch back, and that's something they're still working on. I mean, I don't know that they've got that guy in the offense. It might be Jalen Bradley. It might be Tyjon Lindsey. It might be Miles Jones, who's coming this summer. I don't know that they've got that guy. I think Wilbon and Ozigbo are both seniors. They're both sort of a classic running back, just like Bell is. And then you've got to find that guy that can kind of come off and take the pitch. And I think Bell can do that. I think Maurice Washington this summer can do that. I think Bradley, Jones, those guys.
Fans are really curious about the wide receiver position. Stanley Morgan coming back for a senior, proven commodity. J.D. Spielman, still fairly young, but a proven commodity. Other than those two, who do you think fans can really look to see maybe have a breakout performance, or who does this coaching staff really think can be the breakout guys?
The coaches like Mike Williams, the junior college transfer, not a big guy, maybe a little taller than J.D. Spielman. They like him in the slot and also on the outside. Tyjon Lindsey, who I think is more of a true slot and kind of does this duck position that they talk about. Javon McQuitty, who's coming off a knee injury, and then Justin McGriff, who is a giant. He's about 6'6". He's probably 6'6 and a half, about 220 pounds. He might turn into a tight end eventually, but right now he's a true receiver. You got to figure out ways to use that length.
Sam, moving away from the skill positions up to the big uglies up front. Under Greg Austin last year, who's now here at Nebraska with Scott Frost, UCF allowed the 5th fewest sacks in all of the country. Right. Who do you expect to be the anchor of the Huskers O-line this season?
Same guys that were last year. They've just got to get better. Gerald Foster, Tanner Farmer, Brendan Hymas moving to left tackle. I think your center eventually will be Michael Decker. He's not going to play in the spring. So right now their centers are Farmer, Hunter Miller, Cole Conrad, and then backing up Farmer at right guard is Bo Wilson. And then the right tackle, which I think is kind of a question mark still, is Matt Farniok, who I think is going to get better. at that spot. He struggled at right tackle last year. In the couple games that he played it against Northern Illinois and Oregon, there were moments that weren't great. And then he moved inside. You know, they put Hymas out, basically, is what they did. And Hymas, I think, is a better tackle, and we'll see how Farniok does. That's a work in progress, but that offensive line, I think, at least in the interior, can be pretty good. And then you can mitigate some of the weaknesses that you would have at tackle with just the design of this offense. The mobility of the quarterbacks will mitigate to some degree guys just screaming off the edge like they were at Tanner Lee.
So that's Sam's look at the Husker offense. When we come back, we'll take a look at the Blackshirts. Stay with us on the OSI Spring Game Preview Special.